Hi there, my name is Michael Reese with Outcast Consulting, and today I'm going to talk about the very exciting topic of unemployment. Okay, so I know it's not the most exciting topic, but I've been getting a lot of questions lately about unemployment, a lot of times from employees who have questions about what is the employer's responsibility versus what is my responsibility and how do I collect it? And interestingly, how is it affected by the PPE loans, the payroll protection program that is taking place right now with a lot of small businesses. And so I wanted to talk about this really quickly to clear up some confusion and to help individuals who find themselves in a position where they need to apply for unemployment benefits. I'm going to hopefully give you some assurance there and help you through that process. So I'm going to talk a little bit just about in general how unemployment works. I'll talk a little bit about how it does or doesn't interact with PPP. And then I'm going to talk about as an employee what you need to do to apply for uninsurance benefits or what you should do if you find yourself unemployed. So let's just go through that really quickly and hopefully this will be really helpful to you. So first of all, a little bit about unemployment and some of the most common myths, or I guess some of the common mistakes that I hear that people are talking about. So oftentimes I hear employees ask the question, when is my employer going to apply for my unemployment benefit? So right away, sort of red flags go off in my mind because the employer shouldn't have to apply for any unemployment benefit. The obligation to apply for unemployment benefit actually falls on the employee. So how this works is that the employee usually goes online. I think pretty much every state now has an online system for applying for unemployment benefits. So you go online, there's a series of questions that they ask you and you respond to. And then the unemployment office will go to the employer and will verify the information that you provided. So if you said that you quit or you said that you were laid off and then they talk to the employer and the employer says, no, we actually fired that person. Now the unemployment office has to get clarification and verify what happened with that. So the employer doesn't apply for the unemployment for the employee. The employer does not make the decision about unemployment eligibility. The state actually makes that determination. So as an employee, you may go to your employer when you're being laid off and you say, am I eligible for unemployment? And the employer may give you an answer, but the truth is the employer actually doesn't make that determination. The state makes that determination. So as an employee, what you need to do is you need to go to the state and file the application generally online, file the application, be very honest about the reason for the separation, and then the state will call the employer to verify the information. And assuming that everything matches up and you've supplied a reason that would make you eligible, you would be eligible for unemployment and you'll start receiving those checks. Let's see. So a word about the reason for separation with your current employer. So typically if you're laid off, that's almost an automatic approval for unemployment benefit. If you were fired, but it wasn't egregious, it wasn't anything unethical or illegal, maybe you just weren't a really great fit for the position, but you were fired because you weren't a great fit, typically you'd be eligible as well. Now, if you did something that was really egregious, it was unethical, sometimes sexual harassment, things that are pretty serious, pretty significant, you may not be eligible for unemployment. Also, if you quit and you didn't have a significant reason for quitting, like you quit because maybe you're going to go to school, or you just maybe you wanted a big break for a couple of months, and so you quit. If you don't have a really good reason for quitting, then typically you would not be eligible for unemployment. Again, your employer does not make that decision. The state makes that decision, verifying your information with the employer. So that's kind of how that works. Another piece that's important to understand is, so one thing they do is they're verifying whether or not you're eligible based on why you're not currently working, but then they also need to verify that you've earned enough over a period of time so that you become eligible and you've earned enough income and to determine how much unemployment you would be eligible for. And so they do that by going back, the state will actually go back 5 quarters, and then they'll start counting forward from that point to determine how much you've earned in a year's time. So if you applied for unemployment starting April 1st, if 2020, the state would actually go back until January 1st of 2019, and they would look at your income for all of 2019 to determine eligibility, or I should say how much income or how much unemployment you would be eligible for based on your earnings in 2019 for your unemployment that was claimed starting April 1st. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe you have to rewind and watch the video. I think I said it right, but hopefully that makes sense about how they determine the amount of income in terms of how much they would pay for unemployment benefit. So let's see, what else? Okay, so now that should answer some of the questions related to the PPP loan program. So the question I got from an employee was, well, if I get laid off because my employer can't, we had to shut down the business, but then my employer becomes eligible for this PPE loan. So he brings me back for 8 weeks. The minimum that a person has to be brought back is 8 weeks. And that allows a small business to be forgiven of this loan that they're taking. So the employee, this theoretical situation is, I was laid off. I was brought back for the 8 weeks so that my employer could take advantage of this loan program. And then I was laid off again at the end of that 8 weeks. Am I eligible for unemployment again? And the answer is yes. So again, because based on how they determine your income, they go back 5 quarters and then they start counting forward from there. Those 8 weeks really won't affect your eligibility in any way. So you'd be eligible before the time, you'd be eligible after the time. So here's my recommendation then. It's pretty simple. As soon as you learn that you're going to be unemployed, or on the day that you become unemployed, you go to the unemployment office or you go online and you submit your application for an unemployment claim and provide them just with honest, accurate information, and let the state make that determination about eligibility. Now, one other thing I think is important to mention here is that every state's going to have some sort of waiting period. So let's say that you lose your job, your last day of employment was the end of March, and so you become unemployed on April 1st. Typically, there's going to be a 1 week waiting period before you can do anything for unemployment benefit. And so if you became unemployed on April 1st, you can't become eligible until April 8th, the week of April 8th. And then, so you go through the week of April 8th, you have to file a claim for that week, and then that wouldn't be paid out until the following week, so the week of the 15th. So you become unemployed on the 1st of April, you likely won't see a check until the 15th or the week of the 15th. And that's assuming that the state is running pretty efficiently. Assuming that they've got a ton of claims and they're running a little bit behind, it could take a little bit longer than that. So again, my advice then is that you simply, as soon as you find out that you're unemployed or the day that you become unemployed, you go online, you submit your claim. This is not something, you're not waiting for your employer for any reason. You can do this on your own. And if your employer brings you back, great. You just simply state that the next time you apply for a benefit, you let them know when you started working, the amount of money that you were earning on that particular week, and the state will determine if you continue to be eligible or not. Sorry, last thing. So I promise this is it. But this comes up a lot as well. What if you're working as a full-time employee and your employer, based on the circumstances, has to reduce your hours to like half-time? Do you become eligible for unemployment in that case? And the answer is generally, yes, you do. But again, the state that you're in would determine that. So if your hours get cut significantly, if you've worked full-time hours for the last 5 quarters on a regular basis, you've always worked 40 hours and you've always earned a certain amount of income, and all of a sudden you go to working half-time hours, you would likely be eligible for some unemployment, but it depends on the amount that the state normally pays out and whether or not you're making already as much as the state would pay out. So, but again, my advice is the same. Go to the unemployment office or go online, apply for the benefit, and let them make that determination. So again, I know it's not the most exciting topic, but I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So if you had questions about it, hopefully this has been helpful to you. And go out there and apply for your unemployment benefit as soon as possible or when it's appropriate. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.